Welcome to Legalize Negligence, where we discuss Florida's Wrongful Death Act, specifically Chapter 768.21, subsection 8. And with me today are Travis and Sabrina. And we're going to talk about a bill that was filed by Representative Lopez yesterday to try to repeal this law. So I'm pretty much going to turn it over to Sabrina because she's the one that's done all of the legwork to get this to happen. Travis and I contributed somewhat in presenting the case, but if it wasn't for Sabrina uh, cultivating a relationship with Representative Lopez and getting this information in front of her, this would have never happened. So, Sabrina, it's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Travis. So yeah, I am so happy to say that we have the bill and it's House Bill 129. It was just brought forward yesterday, and actually Representative Beltran is his name is on it too now, so it's officially bipartisan. And together, I am just honored to say that these two legislators are committed to working together to finding a strategy to solve this problem with the Florida Statute 768.21 subsection 8. And these types of things, they don't happen overnight. I met Representative Lopez last session before it started, and the bill kind of fell into her lap. She was asked by another representative to bring it. She actually did away with one of her own bills to make room for this bill. It was new to her. The law was new to her, but she was still willing to learn. And although it didn't get very far last session, I continued to keep in contact with her and me, and we have been talking. And that's how we got here today. I'm super excited because she's taking a different approach, and with the help of Philip and Travis, with some extensive research and dedication to reading laws and previous cases, and similar types of situations in general. Lots of information has been submitted to Rep. Lopez with a new way to present this bill. And I think that is so important because, like the saying goes, if you do what you always did, you'll get what you always got, right? So I'm looking forward to this session. Because I know there will be a new approach, and it's not easy to get here. It's painful, it's emotional, it's exhausting. It's just you live it, you wake up with it, you go to sleep with it, you think about it all day. It's always on your mind, like always. It's like it's a full-time job next to life, and life is a full-time job. So it took a lot to get here. I could not do it without the help of Philip and Travis and all the advocates that speak out and spread awareness. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm honored that they did put the Keith Davis Family Protection Act on it. I was asked if I wanted the bill brought with my name, and I thought, my dad's name would be more fitting, and I accepted that. And I've not ever had that opportunity or been asked that, but I'm very honored, and I just want people to understand that this bill was brought to help everyone, to restore the rights of everyone, for adult children who lose a parent as well as parents who lose an adult child. I am happy to say that in my bill, in this bill, in our bill, nobody is left out. And that was my goal. Ultimately, no matter what else happens, that was always my goal. It was my goal last session, and it was my goal this session, and it has happened. And so, I would like to think it can only get better from here. And moving forward, I think if we can bring this new approach, then maybe we'll get further than we have before. Who knows if it will be the year? There is a lot of obstacles. There is a lot of, things that we must overcome, work through. There will be challenges. There will be lobbyists that load up on her bill in no time. I have no doubt about that. But in the meantime, we're planning for that. We're going to be ready. And I just hope that everybody can find some common ground and work together, and remember that this is about our loved ones and restoring the rights for Floridians.
Yeah, it's
And it's
like
important. It's everybody's rights.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And this really is just kind of like the beginning. You know, we've started the race now. And as soon as the lobbyists read her bill, they're going to start to try to attack it. They're going to start to try to throw their influence and their money around to make it where it can't be heard or can't be voted on or whatever. And in the meantime, we've got like 3 months before they go into session. So in the meantime, it is our job to bring these new arguments to our own representatives and senators. And that's still what we continue to work on today. We're doing podcasts about those very issues. I'm currently reading 2 books on the myth of medical malpractice across the country, not just in Florida. And I'm gathering the data that these doctors and attorneys have used to show where this whole thing has been a hype across the country. Florida is still, as far as I know, the only state that carved out a class of people. But other states have taken other approaches to try to solve this imagined medical crisis. Travis, did you have anything you wanted to say in here? I don't want to dominate the conversation.
Well, I'm just really pleased that unlike the previous bill, that it only struck out and the damages specified in subsection 4 shall not be recoverable by parents of adult children. This bill includes both the children and the adults. And that's really significant because if you look at it, half the battle was won just to get a bill, because if it was just for the parents, then you got to go to the battlefield again to get the other half. And this bill, it saves us that second fight. Now we just need to get it passed and signed into law.
Yeah, and I really want to encourage people to start listening to these podcasts. I'm seeing in my Facebook group where Facebook will show me how many people scrolled past the post where I've posted a podcast, and you'll see like 30 or 40 or sometimes even 50 people that have seen that there is a podcast there, but nobody comments. Nobody even clicks a like button. And if you want to change this law, you've got to get involved with it. And we, over the coming 3 months before the legislature goes into session, we're going to be giving you the arguments to give to your representatives and your senators, because not all of them are going to be aware of this bill that Sabrina's been able to get Representative Lopez to sponsor. So pay attention to what we're saying, and don't just believe us. We're going to give you the citations to read. You can read the arguments, you can read the court cases yourself. So when you write, call, email, text, whatever you do with your representative, you'll have that information to share with them, so that when Representative Lopez's bill comes before them, they'll have the knowledge. Don't leave it to where the lobbyists are the only ones informing them. You have to inform them as well. The lobbyists, that's how they make their money. That's how they pay their bills. And it's time that all of us who have some kind of tie to subsection 8, we all have to get active and get involved. And even if it's just once a week, you send an email to remind your representative or senator that when you go into session, this bill's going to come before you. And let me tell you why you need to get this bill passed. And you can do it very politely. You can do it very civilly. And in fact, that's the way to get it done. Sabrina, do you have anything?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess the last thing I have to say for now is that I do want to make it clear that that my goal and my commitment, my dedication, my energy, I want to put it towards where I feel like it can be used at best, because we all have so much energy in a day, right? So I understand that there's other bills out there, and who knows, there may be another bill. What if another bill is brought for adult children to pursue if they lose a parent, opposite of Representative Roach's bill. Like, what if someone brings that would make 3 bills. We're already at 2 bills. And I understand it can be confusing for advocates. Like, what bill am I advertising? What bill am I promoting? What bill am I talking about? So as far as that goes, I don't want to tell people what bill to pick because that's not my place. But I will say that I encourage people to pick one because it can be tiring to do 2 bills, 3 bills, and then of course we have Senate bills coming because to pass a law you have to have a House and a Senate bill. So we're about to have more bills. So that can be exhausting. I personally will be putting my time and energy into this House bill, and I am not sure what Senate bill yet is to come to put my effort in because I know there's lots of negotiations and talk being done right now, then plans. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with the Senate side, but I just want to emphasize on that it can be tiring and people don't know where to put their energy, and I encourage everyone to put their energy where they feel is best for them, like wherever is their heart leads them to, because you're going to do better if you can focus on what you're doing. And I've learned that.
Well, yesterday, before we found out that Representative Lopez had filed this bill, you had talked to me about doing a podcast on what we need to do to get a bill through the Senate, because that's always seemed to have been the hang up is once it gets to the Senate, what they do with it. So we
Right.
postponed doing that one so we could do this one today. But I'd like everybody to keep an eye on our podcast because we will have something coming up with information on, how to talk to your senators and what we need to do to get it in the Senate. Up till now, it's always been one guy who stops it from being heard on the floor of the Senate, and that is not representation. When one person can hold up a bill from being heard, we are not being represented properly. Even if that's whoever the chairman of the Judicial Committee is, seems to be where it's getting hung up. They just say, nope, we're not going to let it be heard. They need to let it be heard. And if it gets voted down, then at least we had representation. At least we got it out there and everybody got to hear it. But to just let one chairman of a committee stop the voice of everybody in the state of Florida it's reprehensible as far as I'm concerned.
I wonder if there's any freedom of speech implications on that.
Well, my thoughts on that are they're going to tell you, well, those are the Senate rules. Those are the rules they wrote. Yeah, and it's aggravating, man. It really is aggravating, but I think that's the argument they would counter with.
Well, to my understanding, has not been heard in the Senate because the chair of the committee will not let a bill be heard if they don't think it will pass. So for whatever reasons that they may know that we don't, there's got to be something that's someone or something. I don't know if it's the Senate president. I don't know if it's some sort of higher up that is probably telling them don't hear this bill. But that's what we have to work towards. That's why we have to create these lines of communication and see, okay, what can we do better? Help us. We're trying. So we want this bill heard. What do they recommend? And that's my goal, for the Senate, is to connect with them and see what will they hear? What language will they hear?
And that's where the people get involved by getting in touch with their senators and telling their senator, look, there's going to be a bill coming up and we don't want it held up in committee, and we want you to do whatever is necessary to make sure that bill gets past the committee and onto the floor of the Senate. Look, the way our government works, if we don't get involved in it personally, it doesn't ever work for us. You have to be, just like you're involved in your child's life, you have to be involved in your government's life. And this is a great place to commend you, Sabrina, for the work that you've done. You're really bringing the American government to life here. This is how it's supposed to happen. You see an injustice, you go out there, you persuade your fellow citizens that something needs to be done. They all organize and they start talking to the representatives and senators and saying, hey, we want to change. I mean, that's how things happen. And I don't know if you realize what you're doing here, but I mean, you are living the American system right now. And everybody needs to recognize that.
I'll admit, sometimes I do know what I have not ever been a political person. And politics hasn't ever been my thing. I've learned the hard way. I've learned things that I don't want to learn, but I'm willing to learn if I can make a difference. And that's why I am here today, ultimately for my dad and because of what happened to my dad. And that's why I won't give up. So it's like you just said, what I'm doing, sometimes I don't know what I'm doing, but I just know that I'm not giving up. And if I could tell anyone advice, it would be the same. Don't give up. Don't sit around and wait for someone else to do it. Just do it. Reach out to that legislator, make that phone call, send that email, whatever you need to do. Like you will be surprised how your voice can be heard. It really can. You just have to put in that effort.
Yeah,
And it's very gratifying. It's very gratifying to learn, albeit the hard way, and to make progress. I'm having to go through the court system personally, pro se, and I'm hitting hurdle after hurdle, but I'm overcoming them. And it's just a huge gratification when you start getting heard by the judge. And this is just another avenue, is in the political arena, that you're making strides. So it's a good feeling that I wish more citizens, more people would get involved and feel that awesome feeling.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely, I agree.
This is exactly what our founders expected us to do. Keep an eye on those we elect, and when we see them do something that we disagree with, take them to task. And that doesn't always mean be nasty to them. It's just point it out to them. You've heard me reference Article 1, Section 5 of the Florida Constitution, where we retain the right to instruct our representatives. And that's what we're doing. We saw an injustice, and now we're instructing them to correct that injustice.
And that's the great thing about having citations, that we're putting together, be it from the task force in the statutes, is it's so much easier when you can just show them the citations and they can't refute it, because lobbyist is basically marketing. They're making promises, they're trying to sway your opinion, and they don't often cite what they're saying. And that's an opportunity for us to show how wrong they are, because you can't refute the citations. There it is.
Right. And the majority of people that see something that government does that they disagree with, they just complain. Well, their complaint is not going to do anything. That's when you say, okay, I got to put off a trip to the ball field, or I got to put off a trip to the beach, or I got to put off something and go in there and correct this problem. It's my responsibility to correct that and to get my fellow citizens to join me in that endeavor. And, I just think, well, Travis is out there a lot too. But Sabrina has certainly done a tremendous amount of footwork or legwork. She's always out there. I know that you've done it too, Travis. You've done a number of news stories, and you've gone to various meetups and delegation meetings and such. But we all have a place in it. We all have a strength that we can bring to the table. And so, you may not can make a delegation meeting, or you may not can make it to Tallahassee, but there is something that you can do. There is something you can do to get involved. And, we've asked everyone to write to us at either Travis at legalizenegligence.com, or Philip or Sabrina at Legalized Negligence. And we've got information that we can share with you, but you got to reach out and do it. we're happy to share our work, and we want to get it out there. The more legislators who can hear this information, the better our chances.
Absolutely, I agree.
So do you think that pretty much you feel comfortable with explaining what all you've done so far to get it to the point where a bill has been filed, or is there any other information you'd like to share in that regard, Sabrina?
I think we're good. I mean, it's about connecting with the legislators and keeping that line of communication, and just asking how can I help you help me, those kind of questions. And not giving up. You won't always hear back. You won't always get a return call or a return email. It doesn't mean they're ignoring you. It just means try again. So don't give up. That would be my main advice for people. I do plan to go to Tallahassee. I know Travis is going, and we'll be setting up some stuff, and hopefully, if whoever's watching this, if there's some advocates out there that are looking to really get involved and help and advocate and share this new approach of information, I encourage you guys to reach out. If you're watching this and you hear this, reach out to Philip at legalizenegligence.com, and he can maybe set up a phone call with them, whoever wants to help out, and just kind of go through the motions of what we're looking for, because we do need help. We need people who are willing to commit and jump on board, and be with us and do things, whether it be from home or in Tallahassee. Either way, we always can use help. So I'm looking forward to the next session and seeing how this new approach goes.
Well, you guys,
Would you say your frequency of communication, so not to be a nag and call them every day, or not to let too much time go by. What do you think? They're busy people. How often would you check in, touch base, so that you don't irritate them,
Yeah.
but you're not forgotten either?
Good question. So on the website, on the senator and house reps, is usually their Tallahassee number and their local number, local office, district office. And then also you'll see the names of usually 2 or 3 assistants or legislative aides. So you're talking the legislator and maybe 2 or 3 aides, at least 3 people, right? 3 ways to contact this office at 2 different phone numbers and 3 different emails. So I usually start out by calling both numbers and leaving a voicemail. 99.9% of the time, that Tallahassee number or that district number, they're connected to the same phone. You can call both sometimes and get an answer to the same person because they're connected. As far as emails, I usually do, I'll use Representative Lopez, for example. I would do an email to her and I would CC her 2 legislative aides or assistants, all 3 of them in one email. So you make 2 phone calls, 1 email, and to everybody. And usually you'll hear back from somebody. If you don't, I encourage you to try again the next week. I usually give them about a week. If I don't hear anything, I make 2 more phone calls, 2 more voicemails if I need to, and then same email. Usually I just go to my sent box and hit forward and just say, hey, just checking to see if you got my email, and send it again. So and eventually you'll hear back. We can't feel like they're ignoring us, and we can't feel like they're doing it on purpose, because they have jobs and a life too, and they're traveling and they're with their family and they're preparing for session, and some are in Tallahassee and some are like, there's so many different things that are happening. So I try not to form an opinion about somebody if I don't hear back. And by doing that, it helps, because when I do connect with them, I don't feel like I have some sort of grudge because it's taken me forever to get in contact with them. I feel like that's a much better approach if we can assume that they were probably doing something and they were busy and they didn't get back to us. Well, here we are. Let's connect now. And I always like to give them that chance and that opportunity. And once you establish that connection, then it's on them. Then it's on that legislator to follow through with what they've said and to do what they've said. And if they don't, that's when you may feel a certain way. But I try to not put emotion into it at first and simply just keep trying, not give up.
So back to Travis's question, you think like once a week, once every 2 weeks? How often do you?
But yeah, like once a week. If I haven't heard back, I usually
Once a
try.
week? Okay.
Mhm.
All right. And I think it's important.
Yeah.
You two have heard me say this quite a bit. It's not just contacting them, it's the message that you share when you do make contact with them. And just saying that we want you to repeal subsection 8, it's got to be more than that. Because they've been hearing that now for years. That's why it's important that you get the message right when you do make contact with them. And I really think that's why you've made so much headway with Representative Lopez this year. You presented her with a fresh outlook on this. If she knew anything about it before, it was only what that she had heard in the halls of the legislature. And you were able to present her with arguments she had not heard before. And, I believe that's why she said, hey, this is a worthy cause. Let's do something about it.
And when she was handed this bill by another rep, the fact that she retracted one of her own because they're only limited to a certain amount to bring it, she didn't know much about it, but she was willing to do it. She believed in the bill. She believed in the cause. And that is what we need. We need somebody who believes in this, because if they don't believe in it, then we're not going to get very far. So we believe in it because we've lost a loved one. But for a legislator to dedicate their time and use a slot for our bill that includes everyone, that's big. That's important. And it says a lot about them. And she didn't give up on us because last year not much happened. And so the fact that she's willing to work across the aisle, hence how Rep Beltran is on the bill as well. We have a Democrat and Republican. We already have it bipartisan in less than 24 hours of it coming out. That's so big and that's so important. And that's why I'm honored to work with both of them. And hope that more legislators can come on board and join our cause and believe in it and see what's wrong with it and revisit this subject, the topic, like we've mentioned before.
Fantastic. Well, I tell you, Sabrina, I can't congratulate you enough on the accomplishments that you've made with this. I don't think people understand just how much work you've put into getting it this far to where a bill that covers everybody has been filed. And of course, nobody will ever understand the work that Travis and I have done in the background, but I can assure you it's lots of late night text and emails and Zoom meetings and phone calls. And, well, what do you think about this court case? Well, I don't know. What do you think about this precedent? Well, I don't know. What do you think about this? It's just been unreal, but we're getting somewhere with it. We're not at the end,
Absolutely.
At the end of the goal yet, but we're getting somewhere. So do y'all have
I agree.
Anything else to say on this topic? Okay.
I think we're good.
I would like to take a minute to bring up a podcast that we're going to record on the 16th of this month. It was an idea that Sabrina had about the story behind the story. And this podcast probably has more effort going into it than any of them that we've done so far. We're going to have a counselor join us to talk about we know how the malpractice affected our loved one, but how their death affected our lives and what we do about that. And there's actually something that I discovered yesterday I had never heard anything about, called betrayal trauma. If you get a chance, look it up. And there's a number of videos on YouTube that discuss betrayal trauma. And generally it's thought of as like if a married couple, one of the partners betrays the other one, but you can apply the same reasoning to our government betraying us. by having subsection 8 written into law 33 years ago. There's even a form of what they call institutional betrayal, where we put our faith in government to protect our rights. But when they fail to do that, how subconsciously that traumatizes us. And all you have to do is look at the effort that we've spent over the last, well, in my case, 3.5 years, 3 years for Sabrina and 4 years for Travis. You know, it consumes you. It absolutely consumes you. So we're going to record that podcast on the 16th, and we should have it up on the YouTube channel by the 17th. So look out for it. It's coming.
Looking forward to it.
Do what they always say, like, subscribe, ring the bell, hit the button, whatever else it is you're supposed to do. But share us with your friends. The more people we get watching this, the more that we can provide to you. And if you guys will hang on for a minute, I'll close this meeting and then we'll talk for a couple of minutes. Thank you both for joining. I appreciate it.